Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Sip and Talk. I'm Joe, and as always, I've got Sunny here with me.
Hey, you know what's been really bubbling up lately?
What's that?
This whole situation over in Taiwan, these recall efforts against some of their lawmakers, it's been all over the news feeds I've been seeing.
Oh, yeah, I've definitely caught wind of that. Yeah. Things sound pretty charged over there.
Charged is a good word. And you sent over some, background info on it, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
So what's the story? Why are people trying to kick these legislators out? What's actually going on?
Exactly. We've got a few sources here, articles talking about this 2025 Republic of China recall wave. There's a Wikipedia page tracking it all. And even some interesting chatter from mainland China, how internet users there are reacting.
Okay. Quite a mix.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's unpack this. From what I'm gathering, this isn't just, a couple of angry people. It sounds more like a widespread thing.
It seems to be, yeah.
What actually sparked it all?
Well, this recall movement, the 2025 Republic of China recall wave, it really picked up steam around February 1st, 2025. And that date's significant because it marked exactly 1 year since the current legislative term started.
Ah, the 1 year mark. So honeymoon period officially over, huh?
It seems like it. And actually, it sort of grew out of some earlier recall stuff back in 2024. There was an effort targeting the Keelung mayor then.
Right.
But this current wave, the big driver, seems to be, widespread unhappiness with the performance of the majority parties. That's the Kuomintang, the KMT, and the Taiwan People's Party, TPP.
Since they got the majority in the legislature in 2024.
Exactly, in the 11th Legislative Yuan.
So what are the specific complaints? What are people actually mad about?
Well, the critics, and this includes a lot of civic groups, and the other main party, the DPP, the Democratic Progressive Party, they're leveling some pretty serious accusations.
Like what?
Things like destroying the Constitution and undermining governance. Basically, accusing them of ignoring public opinion.
Wow, strong words.
Yeah. And they've got slogans, too, like no discussion is not democracy, and even no democracy is martial law.
Oof. Okay, so it's not just general grumbling. These are specific legislative actions.
Seems so. The sources mention controversial legislative reforms passing, big arguments over the budget, other things they've done in the legislature that have really fueled public anger.
Gotcha.
And here's a really interesting bit. Apparently, even some KMT members themselves have joined in these recall efforts against their own party members.
Get out. Really? Why?
The sources suggest it might be driven by anti-communist feelings within parts of the KMT itself. So internal divisions possibly playing a role.
Huh. That adds another layer entirely. So it's not just party line stuff. Who exactly is being targeted in these recalls?
It's pretty broad, actually, targeting officials at different levels.
Okay.
Primarily, it's the legislators in the Yuan, mostly KMT and DPP members from specific districts.
Not TPP legislator.
Right, because the TPP legislators are all at large. They represent the whole country, not one district. So the district-based recall mechanism doesn't apply to them.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. Who else besides legislators?
They're also going after some local leaders, like the mayor of Hsinchu City, who is TPP, but is now independent, some KMT county magistrates, and various city and county councilors, mostly from the DPP.
So it's hitting national and local levels. Okay, so we know the why and the who. How's it going? Are these recalls, actually making progress?
Well, the process itself has these two main stages, right? Proposal and then petition.
Right.
As of April 2025, which is our snapshot here, things are definitely moving. The first stage, the proposal, just needs signatures from 1% of the voters in that district.
1%. Seems doable.
Yeah, and it looks like basically all of the KMT regional legislators, except the ones from offshore islands and indigenous areas, have already passed that first stage. Their proposals got the signatures.
Okay, so quite a few KMT members are past hurdle 1. What about the DPP side?
The DPP proposals hit a few snags initially, apparently, needed some extra paperwork or something. But after they resubmitted, 14 DPP legislators got through that first stage, too. Others are still being reviewed.
Okay, so stage 1 shows there's some level of support, but that's not the main event, is it?
No, not at all. The second stage, the petition stage, that's the big one.
Right.
That needs way more signatures. We're talking about 10% of the eligible voters in the district.
10%. Okay, that's a serious number.
Definitely a higher bar.
Yeah.
And if they reach that, then it triggers an actual recall election.
And have any reached the point?
Well, according to the recall campaigns themselves, so self-reported data, 7 KMT legislators have apparently already hit that 10% threshold for the second stage.
7? Wow. Do we know who?
Yeah, the names listed are Lu Qiqiang, 罗一清江研究王宏伟 mutants
Wanji.
Ye Yanzi, Wang Qianpin, and Du Tuanqi.
Okay, so for those 7, a recall election is looking like a real possibility. That could definitely shake things up.
It absolutely could.
But surely not everyone thinks this is a great idea, right? What are the criticisms?
Definitely not. There's pushback, especially as you'd expect from the KMT.
What's their main argument against it?
The big ones are cost and disruption. They argue these widespread recalls are a massive waste of taxpayer money.
How much money are we talking?
They estimated that recalling all the regional legislators could cost over NT $1.1 billion.
Whoa. That's a lot.
It is. And they argue that money could be way better spent on, education, healthcare, social programs, that kind of thing.
Standard political argument, but a valid point about resource allocation. What about the disruption aspect?
They say it just creates unnecessary social tension, political infighting, instability, basically paralyzing things instead of governing.
And do the critics think these recalls will even succeed in the end?
Some definitely don't. They point to that high 10% threshold for the second stage and just the general track record. It's historically pretty difficult to actually succeed in recalling an elected official anywhere. So it's something it might just fizzle out.
So a lot of debate within Taiwan itself. Okay, now you mentioned reactions from mainland China. What's the view from across the strait?
Yeah, this is interesting. The sources say some internet users over in mainland China are watching all this, kind of with amusement.
Amusement? Like popcorn time?
Sort of, yeah. Apparently seeing it as, proof of chaos or instability in Taiwan's democracy. Like, look how messy their system is.
And are they just commenting generally, or?
Some have apparently directed criticism specifically at Taiwan's president, Lai Ching-te, as well.
Okay. So, finding fault with the whole system and leadership.
Yeah.
How are Taiwanese netizens taking that?
Well, that's led to a pretty sharp comeback from Taiwanese internet users.
Ooh, what are they saying?
The line that keeps popping up is, "Don't forget, you don't have a vote."
Ooh, mic drop. That's direct.
Very direct. And it really cuts to the core difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's basically saying you can criticize our messy democracy, but you don't even have the basic right to choose your own leaders.
Precisely. It highlights that fundamental political difference. And psychologically, it seems to be doing a few things. Well, for starters, maybe countering cognitive dissonance for the mainland critics.
How so?
Like maybe focusing on Taiwan's perceived flaws is a way to distract from their own lack of political participation. The no vote comment forces them to face that reality.
Right. Easier to criticize the neighbor's messy yard than fix your own leaky roof. Makes sense. What else?
It definitely seems to reinforce group identity. The idea of a distinct Taiwanese identity separate from a Chinese one has grown a lot.
And democracy is key to that identity.
Exactly. Democratic elections are a core part of it. So pointing out the lack of voting rights elsewhere really sharpens that us versus them distinction, using democracy as the dividing line.
So it's like our system might have its problems, but it's our system and we do have a say.
You got it. And tied to that, it underscores the power imbalance, the difference in political agency between citizens in Taiwan and mainland China, where Taiwanese citizens have recall mechanisms, elections.
Citizens in the mainland don't have those same avenues for holding leaders accountable.
Right. And there's probably an element of humor, maybe even shaming in there too. It's kind of sarcastic, right? Undermining the mainland critics' opinions by pointing out they don't have a stake. Or rather, the same kind of stake.
Yeah, sarcasm as a political tool. Powerful stuff. Anything else driving that response?
Probably also taps into social comparison.
Yeah.
It's like an upward comparison from the Taiwanese view, implicitly saying our system, with its right to vote, is superior.
Yeah.
Highlighting something fundamental they have that the critics don't.
It's a really potent comeback, packed with layers. Okay, so let's try and wrap our heads around this. If we boil it down, what are the main takeaways from this whole recall situation?
Okay, so key points. First, this 2025 Taiwan recall wave. It's a pretty big deal, a significant social movement.
Driven by real dissatisfaction.
Yeah, real unhappiness with a ruling majority in the legislature.
Yeah.
Second, it's broad targeting lots of officials, legislators, local leaders, and it's progressing. Several KMT legislators have hit that crucial second stage petition threshold. Recall elections are definitely possible. Third, within Taiwan, it's divisive. You've got strong arguments about cost and disruption versus democratic accountability.
So a real debate happening there.
Absolutely. And finally, the online reactions, especially the "don't forget you don't have a vote" line, That just throws the massive political and identity differences between Taiwan and mainland China into really stark relief. It's symbolic of two very different realities regarding citizen rights and political systems.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot to take in. It really shows, how invested people in Taiwan are in their politics, even if it gets, messy sometime.
It certainly does.
And that no-hope point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really sticks with you. Kind of puts everything in perspective.
It really does. Makes you think about what it actually means to have a say in how things are run, doesn't it?
For sure. Speaking of having a say, or maybe just having a laugh, our old friend Micky, his YouTube channel, Mickytolife.
Oh, yeah, Micky.
He is just brilliant at finding the funny side of everyday stuff. So yeah, if anyone needs a good chuckle and some just real-life funny stories, check out Mickytolife on YouTube. Good stuff.
Will do. And, bringing it back slightly, it is fascinating just watching these big political movements play out and seeing all the different takes on them.
Yeah.
It really highlights how dynamic democracy can be, warts and all.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for diving into all this with me. Super interesting stuff.
Anytime. Always good to talk this stuff through.
Definitely.